I need you to listen to me very carefully before this story begins. Not because what I am about to tell you is dramatic, but because it is ordinary. That is the part that should frighten you. Not the monster under the bed. Not the stranger in the dark alleyway, but the man in the white coat with the certificates on the wall and the receptionist, who knows your name and the practice that came up first in the search results when you typed, "Trusted doctor near me." My name is Maya. I was 22 years old. I had just moved to a new city completely alone. No family nearby, no close friends yet, just a new apartment, a graduate program that consumed most of my time, and the particular vulnerability of someone navigating everything independently for the very first time. I got sick in October. Nothing serious, a persistent chest infection that would not resolve on its own. I needed a doctor. I found one 3 streets from my apartment. Highly reviewed, established practice, professional-looking website. His name was Dr. Richard Calloway, and what happened inside his clinic over the following 3 weeks is something I believe every woman needs to hear before she ever sits alone in an examination room again. My first appointment was on a Tuesday morning. The clinic was exactly what the website had promised. Clean, professional, quietly expensive in the way that good practices tend to be. The receptionist smiled and remembered my name when I arrived. For my second appointment 2 weeks later, the waiting room had real plants that someone actually watered. Dr. Calloway was 45. Silver-haired, tall, the kind of man who filled a room with a specific kind of authority. Not loud, not aggressive, just completely certain of his own importance in every space he occupied. He had a way of listening that made you feel simultaneously heard and assessed, like every answer you gave was being filed somewhere. The first appointment was entirely routine. Patricia, the nurse, a woman in her 50s, was present throughout. Blood pressure, questions about my symptoms, a prescription, professional, appropriate, completely normal. At the end, he said, "Come back in 2 weeks. I want to monitor this properly." I thanked him and left. I felt well looked after. I remember that feeling very specifically now, because it was the last time I felt it in that building. The second appointment began with Patricia present. She took my blood pressure, updated my notes, asked how the medication was working, everything normal. Then, 11 minutes into the appointment, her pager went off. She looked at it, apologized briefly, and left the room. She did not come back, and in the minutes that followed her exit, I experienced something I have since learned has a name and a pattern and has happened to more women than most people know. Dr. Calloway moved closer than he had during the first appointment. Not dramatically, just incrementally, the kind of proximity that exists just outside, the boundary of what you could confidently call inappropriate, but well inside the boundary of what your body registers as wrong. The questions changed, not suddenly, not obviously, just shifted from clinical to personal in a way that happened so gradually. I almost missed the transition. Comments about my appearance framed as medical observations, questions about whether I lived alone, whether I had a partner, whether I found the city lonely, each question individually explainable, each question collectively forming something I could feel, but could not yet name. His hand touched my shoulder when he reached past me for my file. It stayed there. 2 seconds, 3, 4. I shifted slightly. He removed his hand. The appointment ended normally. He said he wanted one more follow-up. I left feeling like something had happened that I could not fully describe and was not entirely sure I had the right to be upset about. That feeling, that specific uncertainty, is exactly what men like Richard Calloway count on. The text came 3 days later, from a number I did not recognize. "Maya, Dr. Calloway, your follow-up is important. Come Thursday at 6 p.m. Clinic will be quiet. I can give you the attention your case needs. Don't mention it to reception. I'll fit you in personally." I read it once. Then again. Don't mention it to reception. 5 words that told me everything I needed to know about what Thursday at 6 p.m. was actually going to be. I sat with that text for a long time. Then I made a decision. I was not going to ignore it. I was not going to cancel. I was not going to pretend it had not happened. I was going to go, but I was going to be ready. I called my friend Priya, the one person in the city I had grown close to since arriving. I told her exactly where I was going and exactly what time I would be there. I told her if she did not hear from me by 6:45 p.m., she should call the police and give them the clinic address. Then I opened the voice recorder on my phone. I pressed record. I put the phone in my jacket pocket face down. And I went to that appointment, The clinic was almost empty when I arrived at 6. The receptionist's desk was unmanned, 2 lights still on in the back. The waiting room empty, and strange in the particular way that familiar spaces feel strange when they are missing their usual population. Dr. Calloway appeared from the corridor almost immediately. "Jacket off," sleeves rolled, smiling the specific smile I now recognized as the one he used when Patricia was not present. He led me to the examination room. He closed the door behind us. Then he turned the lock. The sound of that lock, small, metallic, completely deliberate, landed somewhere in my chest like a stone dropping into still water. He turned to face me, and everything he had been carefully containing across 2 previous appointments, all the comments and the proximity and the questions and the hand on the shoulder, stopped being contained. He told me I was beautiful, not as a compliment, as a statement of intent. He told me he had been thinking about me since my first appointment. He moved toward me with the unhurried confidence of someone who had done this before and believed he was completely safe doing it again. He put his hand on my arm. I stepped back. He followed. My back reached the examination table. He was close enough that I could hear his breathing. His hand moved from my arm toward my face, and something in me, something cold and completely clear, activated. I grabbed his wrist with both hands and pushed it away from me with every gram of force. I said, loudly, clearly, directly into the room where my phone was recording every single word. "Do not touch me. I have been recording this entire conversation. Get away from me right now." The silence that followed lasted approximately 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, I watched something leave his face completely. The confidence, the certainty, the practiced composure of a man who had always controlled every room he stood in. All of it gone. I picked up my bag. I walked to the door. I unlocked it myself, and I walked out of that clinic and called Priya from the car park and told her to meet me immediately. And then I called the police and told them exactly where I was and exactly what I had on my phone. The officers arrived within 15 minutes. Dr. Richard Calloway was still inside the clinic when they walked through the door. What happened after that was not simple or fast. These things never are. There were statements and interviews and moments where I sat in rooms with strangers and said words out loud that I had never said to anyone before. But the recording was clear. Every word he had said was on it. Every moment from his first comment to the moment he reached for my face. 2 days after my statement was filed, a woman called the police. She had been a patient of Dr. Calloway's 3 years earlier. She had never reported what happened. She had told herself nobody would believe her. She had read about my case in a local news alert and called the number at the bottom of the article before she could talk herself out of it. She was not the last. By the end of the first week, 4 women had come forward. Richard Calloway was charged with multiple counts of sexual assault. His license was suspended immediately. His practice was closed. He has not been inside an examination room since. I need to speak to you directly now. If you have ever sat in a doctor's examination room and felt something was wrong, and talked yourself out of it, because you told yourself, he is a doctor. I must be imagining things. I need you to hear this. You have the absolute legal right to a chaperone at every single medical appointment. You do not need to explain why. You do not need to justify it. You simply say, "I would like a nurse," or "chaperone present, please." If that request is refused or discouraged in any way, leave immediately and report the doctor to your medical board. Doctors are never permitted to contact patients on personal numbers. Any text or call from a doctor's personal phone is a professional boundary violation. Screenshot it, save it, report it immediately. A locked examination room door is never acceptable. You have the right to an unlocked door. You have the right to leave at any moment. Nobody's medical authority overrides your physical autonomy. After-hours appointments with no staff present are not legitimate. A real medical need does not require an empty clinic. If a doctor suggests you come when the practice is closed, do not go. And know your medical board. In the United States, your state medical board, and fsmb.org. In the United Kingdom, the General Medical Council at gmcuk.org. In Australia, APRA at apra.gov.au. A complaint with documentation is investigated. A complaint with a recording is acted upon immediately. And finally, the uncertainty. You feel when something happens in a medical setting is not confusion. It is your instinct operating correctly in a context designed to make you doubt it. Trust it anyway. Maya survived, and so can you.